Many people out there right now, you have folks in your lives that possibly you've taken a stance against, right? In other words, there are people in your life that you know, they could be relatives, friends, whoever they may be, but you ended on a sour note with them, right? Or maybe even a not so sour note, but you really don't care to contact them again. It's important these days that we understand something. That tomorrow is truly not promised to any of us. And you occupy a year where it's going to seem like a die-off is happening. And it will affect a lot of families. A lot of families. But a lot of people won't have a chance to apologize. They won't have a chance to get things right with someone. And all too often, we discount those things. But do we really think we'll stand before Christ, not having released somebody else of anything they did against us? We won't. He won't tolerate that because it's not operating in the spirit of love. And I'll say it again. There are going to be too many things happening this year. And a lot of people are going to be caught off guard. And these opposing spirits who are in the earth right now working in many different aspects are causing one to hate another. Do you know how many people would perish with that? The Lord said, if you don't forgive, your Father in heaven will not forgive you. With all the hate being taught in the world, you're looking at a great number of people who could potentially perish. They will perish because if they die with sin in their lives, meaning they did not have the blood of the Lamb covering them, they will have eternal separation from the Father. And why is that so strong of a sentence? Because to reject what Jesus did for us is when you take a stance not to do the same for somebody else. That means you don't believe in that way. Do you guys see the difference? It's very different. If you accept salvation from the Lord and you're joyful about it, in truth, how can you not forgive others when you understand the cross? And do you know how many people in the world have taken a hateful stance against their neighbor? And they will not forgive, but they feel that they're owed an apology, and the list goes on and on. And I mean real hatred is between them. They will not stand before the Most High. They will have eternal separation. A lot of that is going on, and they're teaching people in the church how to do the same. And believe me, it's a war with that alone. And again, if you fail to forgive, your Father in heaven will not forgive you. Because if you fail to forgive, that is a direct rejection of Jesus Christ and the cross. That means you don't believe in forgiveness enough to practice it yourself. Somebody says, can you love a person and still hate the wrong things? Yes, you love a person, but you can hate the very clothes they wear, the cloak they wear, the deeds they have in the earth. Yes. But let me ask you a better question. Somebody says, can you do that? Can you love a person and hate their deeds? Yes. But let me ask you another question. If you're angry at the person, you're blaming the person, not their deeds. If you're hateful toward the person, then you have not forgiven the person because you're still holding their deeds against them. Now, let me ask you this. This is a better question. Can you forgive that person enough to see that they're under the strength of the forces of darkness? Love them beyond their activities, knowing that they are captive by Satan himself. Can you see it that way? Because if you do, you have seen so correctly. A lot of people make a mistake and they believe that people do what they do because they're just evil, right? No, if a person is practicing evil, they are losing in this spiritual war. That's what's really happening. They're losing. All these people out here who have these weird practices that are given into the world, it's not because they're evil. Their hearts may be evil because in their minds, evil things came into their minds. They stewed on it. It entered into the heart, which then later on comes out of their mouth, which will then form into their deeds. So they are losing against darkness. That's precisely why you were put here, to interrupt what the fallen caused. You're the check and balance. You're the balance to what the fallen did in the earth. And the same thing they did back then, they're doing now. One of the hybridizing effects is not so much the flesh of a person. That will be so easy to see a monstrous looking person and then say, yep, that person's they're no good. That would be so easy. That's not the way it works these days. Because what they're doing is on a spiritual level. They're constantly recruiting. Like a couple of folks we encountered in Africa. They were promising. Listen to how it works now. Listen to me closely. Because this is not fake. This is real. But you may not be able to accept it because somehow a lot of people are in a denial bubble or something. But there was some folks in Africa who were talking to some folks somewhere in Canada. I believe it was Canada. The person in Canada wanted the individuals to sign some sort of a weird contract. The contract was very strange. You could feel in your body that contract was evil. A piece of paper. You could feel that piece of paper had some strong evil intent behind it. They wanted the contract signed in blood. In other words, you put you poke a hole in your finger or something, put your finger on that paper. Now, one of the individuals did that. They did that. They claimed to the rest of us that the paper disappeared, but all of us could tell there was a change in that person. That same moment, there was a change. Folks began to act differently around this person. It's almost like they drew you in, right? It's what it was like. They drew you in. It's like you saw the person differently. They had one of those, it was a sensation like you wanted to be around this person. That was the sensation. This person's life seemingly changed overnight in a very strange way. This person kept going, and then eventually, over about 4 weeks, this person began to break down. They said that they kept receiving communications by letter. Folks were popping up in different areas. There should be no Canadian individual driving up to any soldier in a secluded area, talking to them. How in the world can a person like that find a soldier, right? But this was happening. And the person was pressing the other person to get other young folks involved, to have them want what they wanted so they could also sign that blood contract. This person eventually sought help from the chaplain. And of course, the chaplain could not handle what was going on. Come to find out, this person kept saying that the individual he kept talking to had to be the devil. And he promised him all this stuff, and indeed that stuff came to pass. And the price was what? Servitude in the earth to this dark force. I'd never seen a person have such luck, right? If you believe in luck, I don't believe in luck, But this person seemingly had some type of luck, or he had favor with the world instantly. Take note, he had favor with the world. Everything was going his way. But whatever it was eating him up from the inside out. And he was actually desperate, trying to get other people into it so that he would stop being harassed. The harassment was so great that nobody could figure it out. Until eventually that person was moved totally out of our unit. Nobody ever saw him since. Nobody saw him. But if you could have seen the state of this person before, this person, things will go wrong in this person's life, and they became desperate, right, for everything to change, and they actually began to believe this individual who kept sending them correspondence. But the one guy went through with it, and when everybody saw this person's life change, they did it too. A lot of other people did it too. But then this guy, after 3 weeks, his life began to degrade rapidly. He was tormented. He didn't sleep. He stopped eating. He was tormented. He said he couldn't stop the voices. He could hear. He could see correspondence in everything. He opened up a manual one time and he just lost it. Because he thought it was a letter in that manual. One, of course, it wasn't in the manual. It was something he was saying. But that's one of the extremes, but something that is practiced around this globe, from spirit to human being. Supernatural favor with the world. And in return, you give whatever side you just joined full servitude to recruit others, knowing what they're going to go through. That's almost like that's a true sense of selling your soul over. Right? A true sense of it. But it's real. Now, where did all that come from? Where do you think it came from? Those elements in the earth that we deal with, they won't stop. They will not stop until they have a victim. They won't. And that's what you're here for. So you can never be in a position of deep depression, number one. Many of you are going to have to reaffirm. You have to reaffirm your faith in the Lord by yourselves to evaluate exactly where you are. Utilizing one another to keep yourselves established in Christ. Boy, that was a time. Anyway, so now dealing with these spirits, let me read something out of Enoch so you guys understand something. Because all of that is spiritually laden with some very dark entities that are all around. You guys ready for this? I'm going to read this out of the book of Enoch. I hope that you guys understand what this reading, again, the book of Enoch, is by way of a historical context. It gives no directives except to stay away from sin. Right? It's not authoritative. It is not an authoritative book. Only the words of Christ are truthfully authoritative. If you look at the literal sense of the word, right? Only the Gospels. We're the children of the new covenant. And the book of Enoch is just therefore, it's a historical contextual book. It was even referenced in the Bible, and it was common. People did have the writings of Enoch and Noah as common writings of that time. And the only copies were not found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's just simply not true. That's all they knew at the time, but that's not true. Archaeologists dig deeper every year, and every year they find things that will blow you away. Every single year. So, in the book of Enoch, as we read this, understand we're talking about something that happened a very long time ago. Very long time ago, right? Now, if you guys would, it's in chapter 15. If you're looking at the one that I have here that I'm going to read from. Some of these Enoch copies they're strange, they're very weird, extremely weird. So I would suggest that you check with your local minister, pastor, whoever it is, whoever you trust spiritually, into which one you should get. I, for one, read the one by J.R. Charles, I believe it is. J.R. Charles. Because he kept it very close. He didn't translate too much and miss everything up. He didn't do that. So let's go here. Let me find it here. Now, see, I had it. My computer's cutting up here. It's cutting up. So let's go here and find it. That's fun. There's a lot of stuff in this thing. We're on 15, chapter 15. There we go. I got it. Chapter 15. And again, this is by R.H. Charles, 1917, Book of Enoch. Okay. It is not the, there are other books out there. There's one that says the Book of Enoch, the prophet. I don't read that one. One says the calls of Enoch. I don't read that one either. It's the Book of Enoch, right? By R.H. Charles. He did the translation for this copy, and that's the one I read from. Some of the chapters are missing in there, right? And he did not add a bunch of things. Some of the other copies out there are suspect. They start saying things that get into doctrine, almost like they're trying to plant a doctrine in a person or sway their view into believing that these fallen angels are one thing or another. And that's not what the Book of Enoch does. It reads, and he answered and said unto me, I heard his voice, fear not, Enoch, thou righteous man and scribe of righteousness. Approach hither and hear my voice, and go and say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent thee to intercede for them, you should intercede for men, not for men, for you. Wherefore have ye left the high, holy, and eternal heaven, and lain with woman, and defiled yourselves with daughters of men, and taken to yourselves wives, and done like the children of earth, and begotten giants as your sons. And though you were holy, spiritual, living the eternal life, you have defiled yourself with the blood of woman, and have begotten children with the blood of flesh. And as the children of men have lusted after flesh and blood, as those also do who die and perish, therefore have I given them wives also, that they may impregnate them and beget children by them, that thus nothing might be wanting of them on the earth. But you were formerly spiritual, living the eternal life and immortal for all generations of the world. And therefore I have not appointed wives for you, for as for the spiritual ones of the heavens, in the heaven is their dwelling. And now the giants, who were produced from the spirits and flesh, shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, and on the earth shall be their dwelling. Evil spirits have proceeded forth from their bodies, because they are born of men, and from the holy watchers in their beginning and primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on the earth, and evil spirits shall they be called, as earth shall be their dwelling. And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth, and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless they hunger and thirst, and cause offenses. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them. I'm going to stop right there. It's a lot jam-packed in that chapter 15. Do you guys get everything in there? That was chapter 15 of the Book of Enoch, giving explanation of what the fallen angels caused on the earth. So they had children, giants. Now that word giants is there's a Hebrew term for that word, giants. Nevertheless, they were giants, men of renown, just like Genesis 6 states. But the nature of these children, of these great ones in the earth, so to speak, they love to do battle. Listen to what they like. They like to afflict, just like a demon. They like to oppress, like a demon. In most cases, what people are calling these evil spirits in the earth are demons. And they are familiar with flesh because they came from flesh, and they're still here on the earth today. They like to afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, work destruction on the earth, and they cause trouble. They take no food, but they hunger and thirst, which means they're full of lusts. They have strong desires within them. They do all these things. All the things you fight with in your flesh are right there. Think about it. They afflict, afflictions, oppress you. They will oppress you. They destroy the ways of a child. Have you ever seen a young child, right? A young child, especially little boys, are quite destructive at the ages of 2 and 4. Have you guys seen that? I mean, they will destroy something in a heartbeat and not know why they did it. As though something from time to time takes over them, totally. And then they step back out of them. And the child's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know why I did this. I don't know why I did that. The spirits in the earth, these influences, these motivations, was probably the reason why in the Bible it says a child's heart is full of folly. But what has entered into the heart? And obviously you can see their activities. They're just like these things. Full of destruction. They attack, do battle, work destruction on the earth. That's their fruit. Listen, I just read to you the fruit of the children of the fallen, which are on earth right now and never left. Spirits on the earth. They do this very thing. These motivations people have to do certain things are out of spite, out of a control factor, right? When Jesus said, nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Let me ask you this. What spirit did they have in them that caused them to rise up against one another? It's very clear. It's quite clear. It's very clear. You got to just go backward. What did the Lord take out of somebody? Or what does a person have added to them when they become destructive and when they're doing all these things? They are oppressed. And in their minds are full of oppression and affliction. Normally they have a story behind them. That's why they do specific and certain things. These traits of these spirits are what you've been dealing with this entire time. Sitting still when you were young. How many noticed it almost seemed impossible? How many of you noticed that when you were young, it's almost like you had to do some mischievous thing or you would burn up with a desire to do it? Come on now, somebody was in that boat. The nature of the fallen. It's been contested, yes. But let them contest it. The evidence of it is unseen, but it's quite clear to the believers. Even in our own flesh, right? Not somebody else's, but our own flesh. We can often perceive this rebellion of flesh. The resistance. Okay, folks, let me do this real quick before we go to the second part. Because this world and its kingdoms have these issues in them. The affliction, oppression, destruction, doing battle. Have you ever seen the pride behind those who do battle? That they're actually prideful behind these things. As we go in deeper into this subject, keep in mind, they are defeated by the cross. They're not defeated by a person saying they have overcome them somehow. No, they're defeated by the cross. Jesus has given you authority over them. But they are doing many things in the earth to fool a lot of people. And it's working. But you have authority over them. If you had these, write down their traits. Affliction, oppression, destruction, attack, to do battle, to work destruction on the earth, to cause trouble. If you put those up there, and before you go and do anything, check your motives, you're going to find that the reason you're doing things could be a little less holy than what you think. For example, why did you make that phone call? Why did you comment to that other person the way you did, right? For what reason did you wear what you are wearing? Our motives begin to show behind, and it really gives us insight of what we're dealing with, of what we're fighting. That's why also in the Bible it says you're going to judge the angels. What angels? The ones who corrupted the environment you now occupy. Do you know that in the book of Enoch, that word devil is broad? You guys know this. When the Bible talks about the devil, when he uses that word, that's a very broad word. It is very broad. Did you know that in the book of Enoch, it names the actual fallen one that was in the garden? It's very, very insightful. The sad part about it is their strength is growing and is promised to grow during these end days. The balance to that is your eyes are going to be opened. You will be able to see things you didn't ordinarily see. But the deceit is going to run rampant, run very high. You're appointed to overcome these things in Christ. That is to say, so long as you're standing in love itself. When you go out on your own, doing things of yourself, you're going to have to contend with your flesh. And when you contend with the flesh, you're dealing with oppression. You're dealing with thoughts of total dominance. You're dealing with thoughts of attacking something or someone. You're dealing with all sorts of things. All sorts of things. Supernatural cravings of information you've never had before. You're dealing with all those things. Time to overcome them as fast and as authentically as you can. Because you're dealing with these spirits. And you will continue to deal with these spirits until the Lord removes them out of the way. So much to cover. How many of you didn't know that about the spirits? The spirits being demons in the earth and their origins. I know everybody has their ideas. But the one thing we do know is when Jesus ejected a spirit, there is a time when these spirits will be tossed back into hell. There is a time for that. It's not like the movies. Nothing is going to escape hell. That would imply that the Father's work is imperfect and flawed, wouldn't it? Kind of like those engineers, some of the biological engineers, they call them, you see on television, who look at the human body and say, you know, it had to be an idiot that designed the human body. They were talking about the structure of the eye, the structure of internal organs, and why they wouldn't put things in certain positions. They openly mocked the Lord that way. So I hope that does not take place, but I'm sure that a lot of people did not know they were dealing with these spirits on the earth. But that's not all you're dealing with, because the work is about to be seen by all. But in that day,